That job permanent.
Permanent.
Attention, please.
And fast.
Switch off your mobile and keep it silent.
Now may I request the President to call the meeting to order. Thank you, President. It's written as silent invocation, but I take the privilege of doing the invocation song. It's a special day today. Anand Sagara Muralidhara. Kindly please. Meera Prabhu Radhe Shyama Venu Gopala Nanda Yasoda Nanda Mukunda Jai Jai Gokula Balaji Venu Gopala Ananda Sagara Muralidhara. Thank you. May I request Rotarian Sridharan to do the four-way test? Paperless.
Good evening all.
The four-way test. Of the things we do or say or we think, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? The basic four-way thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridharan. May I request Rotarian Session to do the thought for the day?
Good evening. One who sees in action, and action in inaction is intelligent among men. Bhagavad Gita. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarian Session. That was a good one. Now may I request Secretary to the leave for absence?
Dhurai Swami, Madam US and Saran, all of them sent an excuse today. Rest we don't receive any permissions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Secretary. And welcome, Respect President.
Good evening, my dear friends, Rotarians, aunts, aunts, and the new member to be elected, Prabhu. I welcome everyone to this wonderful evening of our 13th weekly meeting. Friends, I would first like to welcome the presidents Jitendra from Green City, Dr. Saravanan from RC Kodambakam. Thank you so much for attending. You're spending your time in attending our weekly meeting. We just request you to please carry your love and affection. It's our 25th year, Silver Jubilee year. So please carry your love and gratitude to all your members of the club. Thank you so much for attending, sir. Okay, thank you. And friends, a few things happened over the last meeting. Board meeting happened on the 8th November, last Friday. It's our 5th board meeting, and I have to thank Rotarian Ishwar for hosting the same. Moving on, Go Green initiative got done. We are on 14th November. 50,000 tree samplings got planted at Sethu Bharati Agriculture College and Research Foundation, Karikudi, and RCG was one of the participating club in that. It was a grand event. And then Pink Auto. RCG participated with the district signature project, Pink Auto, where women were trained for the auto driving, and in that RCG just contributed 10 women to get trained. And friends, I hope everybody aware that RCG has a musical wing which is called RCG in Saptaswarangal. Latest last Sunday, I believe, we have performed on event at the old age home in ECR. Around 100 plus inmates of that old age, I mean, not old age, mentally challenged people, homage. In that we performed, and I have to just quote one important sentence by that caretaker, that singing is the only tool which vibrates or energizes the mentally challenged people, and we have done it. Okay, so just to demonstrate that, Praveen, the chairman of that wing, has created a video. I just request to play the video. Vijay. I'm just happy to announce with this crowd that till this day, with this, we have achieved around 68 events so far. And now friends, let me welcome Dr. S. Christopher, Professor, Department of EE, IITM, former Secretary of DG R&D, and Chairman DRO to the dais, please.
Thank you, President, and welcome you, sir. Now we move on to the avenue information. Shall we start with the street event?
Avenue information, I think we have to start with Radhakrishna.
Okay, we are having one more feather to the cap today. We are going to induct Mr. Prabhu to our RCG family. Welcome, Mr. Prabhu. There will be a formal induction going on. And okay, may I request the prospect Mr. Prabhu to come forward to the head table. And I also invite Rotarian Jagannath to come and do the honors for Mr. Prabhu. May I also invite Prabhu's family to come forward to the dais. For the benefit of the members, Mr. Prabhu, NM, BBA, MBA from Loyola College. His father's name is Narayana Murthy. He's from the profession of distributor for Power Saver products. His company's name is NNM Sales Corporation, Nirkunjam, near Coimbatore. And his spouse, Sri Lakshmi, we welcome you, ma'am. And Dr. Meghna, 1 year old. And Prabhu's parents as well. We welcome you.
Maybe you can ask Venuji to talk about it later. Please.
Yeah? Your attention, please.
Warm welcome, Mr. Prabhu. Venuji, would you like to add on?
One more. I think Congress chair want to pay them.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's more way.
Receive பண்ண மாதிரி can we take a picture?
I'll
proceed with it.
I think foundation chair want to pin silver jubilee pin also.
Shiva, you don't have to feel shame to ask anything.
I know.
That's not a very large-hearted father.
May I request you to share a few words about
His father.
rotating Prabhu's father?
எதுக்கு அந்த கலாட்டா? இல்ல வேற வேற மாதிரி பேசுறாரு வேண்டாம். சார் நல்லா தான் சார் பேசுவாரு.
President Shiva, Secretary Ramesh Babu, fellow RCGNs, invitees and friends. It's indeed a happy occasion in inducting Prabhu as Rotarian Prabhu this evening. To all the charter members of the club, I must recall and mention the family from which Prabhu hails is not new to the Rotary Club of Guindy. His uncle, Venkatramani, was a dear friend and a member of our club. Ramani's brother, Narayan Murthy, is a dear friend of mine, and it is only apt and flattering that when he decided to induct his son Prabhu, he thought it fit to tell me that he would like to induct him to Rotary. I feel touched, Narayan Murthy, on your gesture in wanting him to join your brother's club. Welcome to you, Prabhu. I'm extremely confident that Prabhu will be an asset to the club, and we certainly look forward to you making Rotary proud. I saw with great timidity the President making a request along with Rotarian V. Sridhar while they were pinning him the silver jubilee pin. It would be absolutely in order to mention that if quarter of Chennai belongs to one person, it is to Narayana Murthy. And so have no reluctance whatsoever in asking whatever, whenever, and however much you may need. I am sure before the end of the evening, Narayana Murthy would make his mark on my statement, of which I am very confident, Narayana Murthy. Incidentally, friends, Narayana Murthy's passionate project is Dhanvantri. Our President Shiva is leading a team of 150, for which the heart and soul of the project is Narayana Murthy and Rotarian Dhanashekhar. May your tribe multiply, and may the coffers of the Rotary Club of Guindy Trust multiply with your large-heartedness. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venuji, for that information, and you'll never disappoint us being a Shashi Tharoor of RCTV.
Yes, Venuji. I think the one more avenue also you covered. Thank you for that.
President
Friends,
has not covered. Can we introduce Ganeshan? Having started with the membership, may I ask Mr. Ganeshan to come forward and introduce himself?
Good evening to all of you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to stand here. I am Ganeshan, an electrical engineer and entrepreneur. We have a company called the Jeff Techno Solutions. We specialize in electrical grounding, lightning protection, electrical safety audits. And I am blessed with 2 children. Both are studied and settled abroad. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. May I request Mr. Dinesh to come forward and introduce himself, please?
So, good evening everyone. So I'm Dinesh. This is the third meeting I'm attending as a member prospect. So I need to thank you all for making me feel at home during the past 2 interactions with RCG. I did my engineering in Annamalai University along with the president, Mr. Sivaraman. So I have been running my own company since 1996, it's about 23 years old, into shipping and logistics. So hopefully the next time I get to address this meeting, I do it as a Rotarian.
Although Mr. Dinesh is a classmate of Rotarian President Shivaraman, but he was introduced by Neelakandan, and Mr. Ganeshan was introduced by Srikanth. Thank you so much. President, over to you.
yes, thank you so much. And for the project Dhanvantri, RCT has committed 50,000 rupees. And incidentally, sir, please come and receive the check, sir. I request Bala to please hand over the check to the deputies. Rishi, 4 minutes. He trusted me. Thank you, sir. And
I thought you said him not to collect.
Shankarji, on behalf of the club service, I would like to, I'm happy to inform that next week we are going to have a joint meeting in the district level. 20 clubs are doing a joint meeting. Our speaker is going to be the industrial minister, Mr. Sampath. So I request everyone to please participate. I think today Shankar has posted it. Tomorrow you will be having the list also. Please participate in that. It's going to be a really good event to participate. And then moving on the vocational service, Baba, you have an announcement to the vocational.
Good evening, friends. Coming 23rd of this month, we are planning to visit at Tirupati Government Factory and Plastic Molding Manufacturing Company. This 23rd is Saturday. And next month, 3rd Saturday, we are planning to have a one-day workshop, seminar for all the Rotarians and is always HR and finance peoples. We are planning to have a one-day seminar. In the details I will send you later. The next event is 23rd of this month, Saturday. That is next Saturday, 23rd. We are planning to visit at Tirupati Factory. The details I will send you through WhatsApp. I will send you later. Thank you.
Thank you, Bala. And then a positivity of time. I'm skipping Jean Harris announcement also. And then community service development project Dhanvantri. I think Venuji has announced it. Probably 21st, 24th, we are visiting Sri Lanka. We are going to, the importance of that visit is we are going to install a factory which manufactures, which is going to manufacture the artificial limbs. To that such an extent, the artificial limbs are required in the war-affected areas of Sri Lanka. It's going to be like touching the life of the people for the past 25 years they're suffering. So we are contributing 50,000 for that, and that's on the project Dhanvantri. And then Kari sir would like to inform and announce about the district conference meetings.
Good evening, friends. The forthcoming conference, the district conference, will happen on 7-8 February 2020, and it's going to be a 3-day conference. And our Venuji is playing key role there, and he's a program committee chairman. And most of our members our Vindi members are involved in the conference. So I really encourage all the members, most of the Green Rotarians, and really it's a great time to meet and greet the district 3 to 3 Rotarians in this conference. So please go ahead and register. So far we have lined up around 30 people. It will be great if we see large number, maybe 50, 55, would have been fantastic. Thank you.
Sir, sir.
Friends, Gadir having mentioned, may I just give you a sneak peek into the programs? We have lined up some amazing speakers, starting with Magsaysay Award winner, Mr. Saina, who will be speaking to us on climate change. We have amazing speakers on environment in Mr. Ramkumar. And to speak about inner environment and climate change, we have Swami Subodhananda. To soothe you, you have Sudha Ranganathan, and many more. If you are looking for glitzy personalities, they would be there in attendance, and the entertainment would enthrall you. Please make it positive. Block your dates on the 7th, 8th and 9th of Feb to be at the Nakshatra at the Chennai Trade Center.
Thanks, Manaji. And last, I request Community Service Health Director Ishwar to please announce.
Good evening, friends.
Good evening.
Good evening, friends. This Friday, we will be having a health camp at a school in Madhavaram, and we will be having general health, eye checkup, and also dental in this. And we will have cancer screening in following, end of this month. I think I will be able to announce that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishwar. Now we move on to the most important part and then the most awaited part, introduction of the speaker. Sir, when I got the opportunity to introduce yourself, I had two thoughts in my mind. One is, what an illustrious career and profile, sir. And number two, am I even eligible to introduce you? These were the thoughts running in my mind, but I will take the best opportunity. I've been given this opportunity. Dr. S. Christopher, FNAE, Professor, IIT Madras, former Secretary, Department of Defense, R&D, and Chairman, DRDO. Dr. S. Christopher was appointed as a Secretary, Department of Defense, R&D, and ATVP Chairman, DRDO, and DG, ADA in 2015. Sir, I seriously don't know the expansion, but I will get to know from during the networking time. Prior to this, he has served in Bangalore-based DRDO labs, LRDE and CABS for 27 years in various capacities, including founder program director and the chief designer of the prestigious Airborne Early Warning and Control Systems, or AWACS, well known as Netra, which successfully served in the recent Balakot airstrike. During his tenure as the Secretary, Defense R&D, Netra was inducted into the services, which placed our country in the selected group of 4 nations in the world having this facility. I think he deserves a big round of applause. As a Secretary, he was instrumental in the induction of the nuclear submarine Arihant and the fighter aircraft Tejas into the service, which again brought India into the elite group of countries internationally. During his tenure as Secretary, several other DRDO design projects were also inducted. To name a few: Torpedo Varunastra, decoy, marich, and sonars. So kindly pardon me if I'm reading this scientifically incorrect. Further, many value given to DRDO jumped from 1.4 lakh crores over 57 years to 2.71 lakh crores during his 3-year tenure. The speaker, Dr. S. Christopher, was a founding program director and chief architect of this AEWNC program for inspection till it end and saw to it the handing over to IAF as IOC configuration completed in 2017. The AEWNC India is one of its kind in the country. Only 4 other nations seems to have this technology. That's quite interesting, sir. Dr. Christopher has several patents and copyrights to his credit, is the author of several publications and has won several prestigious awards, including Scientist of the Year award in 1999 itself. Now, after retirement from MOD, he has joined the faculty of IIT Madras as a full-time professor and is pursuing research on ambitious and futuristic. We welcome him, sir.
Thank you, Radhakrishnan. It's indeed a pleasure for me to stand in front of you, the August gathering here. When Neil asked me to give a talk, I was happy, but then he also put a bombshell saying that it has to be technical. Well, when I see the crowd and most of your engineers, and I'm slightly more worried what type of question I'm up to, because the program says 20 minutes of talk followed by 10 minutes of grilling. Well, I used to ask questions, but I never got into the problem of answering questions, but anyway, I'll try to do that. To make the movement slightly lighter rather than being serious, because you're all doing a good job. There was a couple, small family, Christian family, but the father and the wife started taking the child to the church on a Sunday morning. The father is the boy must be a DRDO scientist like me. Obviously, he did some calculation and ultimately said to his wife, and here is his wife saying, right now we must leave to see that we are just on time for the church. So naturally, the wife came out and then they started in the car and landed up in the church at least 15 minutes ahead. So he said, thank God that we are well on time. But then the wife yelled at him saying that you just now said that just on time. Obviously, like any other DRDO giving explanation, he started saying that look, the weather prediction was that full of rain yesterday, but while we travel, not even a drop of water on the roads. So there's no crowd, there's no congestion in the road. Likewise, he also said, even the Kejriwal's influence is right in Madras scene. The odd and even has happened, the number of cars are half of it. So naturally there's no crowd. All these things are unpredictable. Of course, he was murmuring something else by the time she left. Thank God she left. What he was saying is, look, in my prediction, one of the things is, you came out from your dressing 15 minutes ahead. Otherwise, probably would have been sent to heaven from the church itself. Right. Having said that, the man went and settled down in the pews, and then he was trying to sit in an advantageous position to see the God's grace and get it and go back to run the show, or maybe run his research. While the wife spent the time usefully taking the child around, the daughter, like Meha here, she went around and trying to show the window panes where the depiction of various stages of Christian biblical stories. One such a place when they went, the stained glass, they found that Adam and Eve and the mother happened to tell the child, look, this is the origin of the human race, and they are our forefathers, they are the first father and the mother. Right? Then the child, as usually inquisitive, will be like, man, has gone missing. She may be asking mother some more questions. So she started asking by the time the church started, beginning. So naturally, they need to stop, and they came and sat. And the child was full of inquisitive to ask questions. But however, when they returned home, the father was really busy. He's a scientist after all. He started doing the multitasking. Most of you may be doing it. As soon as he came back, he sat in front of the TV, then switched on the TV one side, opened the laptop, other side, opened a couple of files, and also the WhatsApp scene. I don't know how he's doing all of them justice in doing it. He did. But then the daughter came running saying that, Appa, I have some question. But then the father said, see, what you are seeing me, I'm doing work. So naturally she has to go. But then the mother went to the kitchen, so she was busy in cooking, so naturally the child could not ask further question. The mother said, look, till I finish cooking, no question, no more answers to you. Well, then the child happened to keep quiet for a while. Then the call came from the mother saying that food is ready. The father got up from all his busy schedule, went up to the dining table and finished his lunch. Then, end of the day, the child, when he wanted to sleep, the child was not sleeping in the room. The mother went and said, oh, you're awake even now, it's 8 o'clock, the time to sleep. Mom, I have got a question to ask you. In the meantime, the father felt so bad, so he spent some time with the child and explained entirely about the Darwin's theory of evolution. So the child got confused, so that's why she could not sleep. So the mother, when she was asking to go to bed and sleep or whatever it is, she asked one question, then I'll sleep, I promise you, Mom. So the mother asked, what's the question? She said, Mom, you said in the morning that our forefathers are, Adam and Eve, while the father said we came from apes. So what is the correct one? The mother looked for a while and said, look, he talked about his descendants, I talked about my descendants. So, ladies and gentlemen, I always worry about ladies, particularly when Radha's explain, I'm afraid with what she's in it. Because she said that I'm great, I'm not. Okay, I'll try to go back to my Bangalore to Palakot incident. Basically, the incredible journey of AWACS or Netra is nothing but the Indian AWACS. Okay, when we looked at the AWACS, we look at it, what it is role. Basically, it is an aircraft with several equipments including radar. So you can see while the fighter aircrafts are virtually blindfolded, they don't open up their radar because you can show off yourself by operating your radar. So they keep themselves absolutely. The AWACS is nothing but a force multiplier in a war. Why do I say that Bangalore to Balakot? Balakot is the instant. We all know that we connect ourselves with Balakot because Abhinandan is very much from Chennai, Tambaram, and he's a son of my friend, and he's very much was in that MiG-21 aircraft. Why? The F-16 had its own fate. Because the God side, that means AWACS or AWMC, what we have developed and made could probably see both and guide that pilot. This is the entire story. So the point what I'm trying to tell is there are occasions where somebody like me could probably see the entire development and induction and finally in action. So this story is going to be all about that. Next slide. Okay, I can use this. Next slide. Sorry. Okay, so this is an indication of when our Prime Minister came for the first time, and probably the only time so far, in 2015 to Bangalore for air show. When he came, he inaugurated the air show and then declared that we are having so much of import of about 80% of import of the military goods, which I am not happy about. And he started the Make in India agenda. And at that time, we could probably, reach him through the colleagues, and then finally I could manage to bring him. I was only a director at that time in Center for Airborne Systems. This is the place where probably you can get some inspiration. There is something Make in India is coming up. It will get into the services in a year's time or a couple of years' time. So we could nudge him and bring him, and he spent quite some time with me inside the aircraft, and I explained about all the details, what it is doing, and I indeed said that in a couple of years, definitely get inducted. Because the induction is not the making of the aircraft alone or the system alone, It's a question of flying for a large number of sorties and see to it every checkpoint, every flight point, and every aspects are cleared one after the other, including weather conditions, summer, winter, desert, as well as in the hilly conditions. It's a long drawn process. It is not only connected with you and your efficiency, it's also equally with the efficiency of the services. Also the number of flights they need to arrange, sometimes it is really humongous amount of efforts involved. That's the reason it takes quite some time. Followed by that, he spent quite some time and he nodded his head and not anything express. I'm sure he must also gone back to the services and then instructed the service chiefs, please look for the projects where we can induct as early as possible. Subsequently, exactly in 2 years' time, there was the next air show in Bangalore. Again, none other than Parikar was the minister. So we could, give it as an IOC version to the then chief, none other than Dhanova. You can see on the side, almost in the extreme, the present chief also standing. So followed by that, we also, this is symbolic certificate. It's like a similar saying that it is certified for flying for a military condition. The next one is again a key, sort of a symbolic key given for the aircraft. Again, the extreme end is none other than the present chief, Baduria Spot, and also the present naval chief and others are there. The point is, another 2 years later, which is really the glorious thing, the system was utilized. I mean, utilized in the sense in the field operation, exactly in 2 years' time. So all, if you see that in my synchronization or whatever is my happiness, February 2015, February 2017, and February 2019, this happened where in Balakot this system was utilized and open price from the Air Force came. There was a sort of a grace to us by God that very many will not be in a position to see the type of operation. And indeed, an outsider's views that it is the help of the system which they could see. Let's go back to the history or whatever it is. Is it that airborne system or airborne surveillance system is it something new that we alone have done it or developed it? It's known time immemorial in the sense BC 2003, 2002 type. Even at that time, the Chinese have made a kite which can carry a man, so that you can see the advantage of position from an advantage position. What is the distribution of your enemy so that you can win the war? Likewise, either in the American Civil War in 1800s or in our World War I also, several occasions this type of balloons and other things were used to do the surveillance. What exactly is the AWACS? AWACS? If you have a radar, the gray picture shows the coverage diagram of the radar. The antenna will be covering those areas. That means the low-flying targets, if there is a cruise missile or if there is a low-flying aircraft, pilot is smart to fly, almost touching your, let's say, your coconut tree cannot be detected by those radars. That means he can come very close to you and probably, release his weapon and go. While when you put the same radar in a flying platform, you can always think that it's a balloon, but we say it's a lame duck, it's not moving. Whereas put in an aircraft, you can get the coverage much more. In addition to that, you see that what is called the low flying targets can easily be covered. So it is a game between the pilot becomes in 1940s when this radar as well as the aircraft came into the very much operation. The radar was utilized to detect, and the pilots have to find out some ways to probably get out of the radar. So that's how the game plan goes. Everybody wants to be innovative as much as a pilot as well as an engineer. So the engineering solution to detect the low flying target was flying an radar on top of the aircraft so that you can continuously see. The aircraft, of course, gives the mobility, so that's the way we are putting in an aircraft. You can put in the balloon. We have at Patinda balloon-based radars also there, but they can be shot. One missile from some designated place can shoot it in no time. Now, coming back to the other aspect is once you put the radar, is it only the radar should be there? Could we add some more things? Naturally, it's a platform with all the possible operators, and they can at any time, at their command, really control the pilots of the fighters. That means it's a mobile of his room or where that decision is made. So it's instead of Delhi deciding it, it can be decided from a platform. But then we have a connectivity to Delhi all the way. Though this could be somewhere very close to the border, but we have absolutely seamless connectivity. So you can take a call, you can take an attention from the chief, what exactly the decision of PM, what exactly the political bosses are asking us to do. Then accordingly the decisions can be done. You don't release the weapon just like to kill somebody without even asking, but it has been done. But if there is a necessity for you to operate yourself on a standalone, you can do so. Everything is available. Tomorrow, if it is operated, let's say in the Gulf, if you would like to go and support, we can do so. Because every information can come through a SATCOM. That means you have added yourself a satellite communication as well as a data link through which the picture, what is seen by the AWNC or AWACS at the border area, can be seen sitting right in Madras, sitting right in my office in Bangalore, sitting in probably in Delhi, including in PM's office. So that's the way we are connected it and networked it. In addition to that, as I told you, there are several other ones. I told you that the mostly the aircraft, whatever is flying in the forward area like fighters, they do not radiate anything other than what they have to essentially do. That means they are radiating silence. But that means even whatever the communication they talk, if you could capture that also another information. So we have got a communication support measure, which is very much built into this. It keeps looking for anybody speaking. If they're speaking in what language, in the sense, nothing to do with the Tamil or Hindi or Malayalam, that's not the point. Is it looking like a fighter aircraft doing some scrambling? Scrambling is the word used for when before they fight, they do some talk. So we can make out from that and see there is some activity likely to happen. So we tell them. Like before a storm comes, we get some certain information exactly like that. Likewise, if I said Abhinandan was not using his radar, but not necessarily all the time. Suppose if you don't have a back support like this, they have to fend for themselves. That means they will use their radar. If they happen to use their radar, you're sitting in here, you can pick up his radiation. That means he's doing his radiation, he's helping you. You simply pick it up and know somebody is there. But then you take a call by doing a lot of mathematical algorithm, whether he's a friend or no. That decision itself is a huge, humongous problem. But they're all solved on board the aircraft and given a platter to the decision maker. The decision is not made by the machine, decision aid is the machine. The decision is made, done by the human being, including the headquarters at Delhi probably. At that point of time, it gives you more than one solution. By this reason, he is likely to be an enemy and likely to be a fighter aircraft. He is moving in this particular speed. He is not following the civilian corridor. That means he is meandering. It should be XYZ. Or it is a civilian aircraft supposed to have gone from here to here, because all the civil informations are going back to the aircraft that is in our AWNC, and they know which aircraft to fly, where and what time. If it is meandering, yes, it is a civilian aircraft, the IFF says it is civilian, unfortunately he is running out of some equipment problem, so he is deviating. Even that information we get. Otherwise, it is pinpointedly decided that he is a friend or foe. After that, it is escalated to follow or do whatever it is. Then you ask your pilots, your own fighter pilots to be on the alert. That means otherwise, some of them were on the ground, some of them were flying. You may make more of them to fly, more of the missiles to turn to their direction. You keep all those readiness. Then you take a call. So that's precisely the point. The another point I want to stress here, what you might be probably having more information, DRDO, probably from the media, which not necessarily the true picture, it is a sort of a colored picture. They say that DRDO takes more time. Yes, this project we have said 7 years, will take nearly about 10.5 years. Does it mean that we delayed? The point is the environment under which that what you're working. If the decision making is based on certain inputs given for you, and the inputs are changing, the decisions what you're making will change accordingly. In a big projects like this, which is each aircraft is about 1,000 crore, when Pakistan bought it, it's about twice that cost. In fact, it's more than twice the cost. In 1,000 crore of each system, nobody will allow you to make decisions just like that. You have to explain 100 various ways, and there will be a huge number of changes will happen. We are constant, whereas the service officers are on a continuously rotating basis. So naturally, the input from one person to the other person will vary. I can cite specific examples in this case itself for the delays, and then exactly tell you that where exactly the delay has come. It's not necessarily from the engineers and scientists, but it's also a lot of input and output. But in a project of this nature, which nobody has seen it, you cannot also tell them saying that, no, you told me a long time back, you keep your mouth shut. There will be a variation, that's precisely what happens. So the point is, it has taken 15 years for US from 1963 when the ORs were given, that means operational requirement was given. When the first product came, it took about 15 years. And you may say this is a 1963 story. But what happened in the case of Wettstein is the same Americans, when they did the newest possible, the latest possible, like what we have done in terms of electronic scanning or ASA based, they have also taken more than 15 years and billions of dollars. Then, because it's a challenge, is not trivial or simple. Earlier they did it in 707, but they have done it in 737. In both occasions, that is the earlier, but now even the present one, they have taken quite some time. So I'm trying to tell you that why the comparison comes in. You may also ask that why you, in otherwise projected in 7 years only for this. Kalam was our boss and he used to tell us, you reduce by 6 months and then I will give you the project. There is a rule by which everybody, including I have projected, when I took over the secretary post in Kalam's place, I also used to say, if you add 6 months or 1 year under the name of real estate, your user will say, I'll go and buy it from elsewhere. So let's go ahead with the number. This is a constant fight amongst all of us. Okay. Let's go on to the seating in the 1973 and 78 and 80 time. This is what came, E2C and E3C. One is from the aircraft carrier, other one is from the normal ground itself. They are still flying after 60 years of flying, and they are mechanically rotating antenna. In the sense the antenna will keep rotating. The disadvantage is, if I would like to see you again as a revisit, I have to wait for one entire circle. In an electronic scanning, I can see wherever I want as many number of times as possible. Why? Entire energy can be concentrated if I'm flying in parallel to the border of western side, whereas our friends are there. I don't have to look into the country. I have to look into their country alone. So that means the energy could be channelized in the interest of direction. So that is the reason electronic scanning came in. So there are two changes. The jet is generally for long endurance, high altitude, whereas the prop is also equally good for a short runway. In a fighter, in an aircraft carrier, you cannot have a 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers runway. So in that case, prop is the better. While likewise, MBA have written mechanically beam-formed arrays, wherein the antenna rotates to get the scanning, while the other one is AESA, the active electronically scanned array. The array is not mechanically moving, it's only just scanning through electronics. That's the latest technology. So when we started ourselves somewhere in 80s, called phase 1 of the AWACS or AWNC or ASP, all similar thing. ASP stands for Airborne Surveillance Platform, AEW stands for Airborne Early Warning. All these things are more or more the same thing, means the same thing. When we started that, we were asked to take Avro platform, which is very much plenty in Air Force. It is 1940s design and it is there right from 50 onwards. It's a UK based design and being produced at Kanpur. Kachet Kanpur. So we took two of the aircraft, modified, put this dome, and the antenna was at that point of time designed under my guidance, and then we completed it, fitted onto the dome inside the HL, and we flew. When we flew, we could do a lot of things, but then we have not completed. On January 8, 1999, there was a crash in Arakonam, very much Tamil Nadu gets credit. So it was in Arakonam when we were flying, it happened. And believe me that the previous sortie I was flying the same aircraft, previously evening. So there is a two distinct one. One is that rotary or a mechanical scanning. The left side and the right sides are the electronic scan. As of now, only 4 countries have done. It's not because it's impossible to do. With a good amount of engineers and the technocrats, all of you are there. It is possible to do. But the question is, test and evaluation and the paraphernalia need is so much that always we get into a problems. So the what was done by Ericsson, Swedish, was the first one. They were the first one to show that electronic scan can be there. Until then, Americans were keeping everybody under pressure. Then came Israeli, and to a larger extent, we have jumped into the fray. and that's how the whole thing is there today. And the critical element, unlike the mechanical scanning, is called the TR module, transmit receive module, wherein the earlier one we generate power at one single point with a huge magnetron or a klystron, and it is going all the way to the top antenna. While it is going through, 50% of the energy is lost, that is a 3 dB loss in the plumbing. Whereas here, you only generate a low power at the bottom and then take it all the way to the antenna. Locally with silicons, you amplify and distribute or radiate, and the power is getting combined to the kilowatts, not inside but outside in the space. So there is also another method of doing it. That is the technology we have done that. And we have pushed ourselves and got the patent along with me, some set of colleagues, including industry involved in making this both in gallium arsenide and gallium nitride. And that is a core, base on which that we started. This I explained earlier also. If it is a mechanical scanning, I cannot go and do what is called the revisit and sort of a verification beeps. Why it is because electronically I can look forward, back, come back, any number of times I can do. That means energy management. If I have to get an extended range, I keep staring at some direction. If I don't have a hazy picture of somebody, if I keep looking in that direction for a while, how the brain builds up. Exactly like this here, if you are also willing to spend more pulses and more time to spend, you can get extended range. That means the normal requirement is about 200 kilometers, and if it is possible for you to stay, then you can go up to 300 kilometers. These are all for a 2 square meter, that means very small targets. If it is a jumbo jet, we can see up to 575 kilometers. It's a really large, across the board you can see very, very large. And this cannot be done by one single individual laboratory, even in DRDO, because DRDO as a whole, you must be knowing about 52 labs are there. Out of that, somebody concentrates on aircraft, somebody concentrates on radar, somebody concentrates on ESM, CSM, like that, and somebody in data link. So we have to join ourselves, which is again, is not an easy job, it's a Herculean task, because amongst the learned, amongst the engineers, we have got our own ego issues, but then it has to be done. We have done that our job, and we have to somehow manage to do that. The most critical is on the top, what is called that, that active array antenna unit, which is not necessarily a microwave or an antenna in a simple sense. It has to fly. That means that safety is the prime. Then comes to the mission system. If it is not flying safely and it's going to crash, what is the point in saying that that antenna is doing an excellent job as an antenna? First of all, it has to be as an aircraft, as an integral part of the aircraft, it has to do that. So that means we have agreed, because the passenger, this is nothing but a passenger aircraft about 50-seater, we don't have from HAL. Avro was the near equivalent, but it's about 45 years old and it's a turbo prop. So naturally we have to switch over to the modern aircraft, which even Ericsson also used the same aircraft. So we thought fit to go along with that. But then the problem is the top antenna being designed in India. And if the certification is not done, combinedly, the blame game can go here and there. Having gone through in the 1999 the problem of a crash, we want to be ultra sure whatever we've done. So basically we have agreed to them that we will show our design for them to certify. Okay, that's a big giveaway, what else can be done. But at the same time, we have also agreed as the first contract in the history of DRDO that in the event there is a delay in delivering that, LD will be applied on us, reverse LD. It's never in the case of history as far as DRDO is concerned. On the other hand, if they delay, let's say he delays by 3 months, I delay by 1 month, net result in 2 months, LD he has to pay, or vice versa, whichever the way. Thank God, with a lot of difficulties, we could succeed. And maybe, not maybe, this is the only contract in DRDO where we have applied LD on the foreigner. To that extent, we could succeed. Okay. When you pick up the system, when already been done by none other than Ericsson for various countries, let's say Greece, Mexico, and other countries, our services have got a knack of picking up the best one. They are very intelligent in that way. So they picked up the best everywhere and put it together and said, this is your spec, hey, do it. We had a debate on that, 2004 the sanction came. Till 2007 we are debating on it. I stood on my legs saying that unless survey specification is fully agreed and signed upon from both the sides, there is no point in going ahead with the Embraer aircraft. Because after sanctioning the project with certain specification, 3 times they enhance the requirement, which impossible for us to carry in a small aircraft, a resource what have been asked. We can either increase the payload or increase the fuel. You want endurance more, you reduce the fuel, the endurance more, you reduce your payload and increase the fuel, you can fly. You cannot do anything, both together. We also suggested at that point of time, why not we go for a Boeing 737? But somehow Air Force took a stand. Because our already VIP squadron is flying with the Embraer 135 aircraft, they would like to go around with the 145. 135 and 145, no, not much difference except the stretching height about 2 meters. And they very many times, many of the aircraft industry do that. Between the MAX and probably the earlier one, if you look at it, some stretching they always do it. That's precisely the point. So having decided on the aircraft, when all these were extra wanted, including air-to-air refueling, which is unheard of for this type of categories of aircraft. So we left with no other choice to fight for quite some time to stabilize the requirement. Then only we could go on. The 3 years of delay, right to the beginning itself. And subsequently, we can see that in all the respects, we agreed with certain conditions. Inside, it's like any other posh, some of the executive jets where the chief executives of various companies go fly up and down. Like that, we've given a clean configuration. At the same time, we have to see that extra fuel is carried because the requirement is such a large that you can see that at the back, there are some tanks. These are all the fuel tanks inside the fuselage, which normally it's not a regular practice. Being a military aircraft, we could get it certified. And also in the case of emergency, you must jettison the extra fuel before you land, because you're going to land with the same takeoff weight, you have to come down in it. So that is also another major issue that has been done. And while we are halfway through, they said, look, now that you are going to give a air refueling and extension of another 4 to 5 years, please tell me, how can you as an engineer expect the pilot or the operator to sit for 10 hours continuously? You have to give a reclining, beautiful, executive chair type of thing extra. Each chair, we are fighting for 23 kg versus 33 kg and 34 kg. So that cost, that time, the difference of about 10 kg in each chair and about five chairs extra, which was not contemplated when it was asked. We had a lot of issues. Likewise, there are several things. Once you say air refueling, you have to have a tank for that, you have to have a connectivity for that, plumbing for that, rescue chairs. It keeps adding to that, including the food, whatever they have to carry. Earlier number to now numbers keep changing. And initially it was told 5. It gave an example of how the things changes. None other than the then chief, or when he was deputy chief, Charlie Brown, you must be knowing, NBK Brown, was one of the chief was there. He came along with me to Brazil. On the spot, he says, Christopher, I don't want this 7 seat. You can come down to 5 seats, but please see that you are giving a reclining seat exactly equal to VIP squadron. Sir, it is going to weigh more. I cannot have space. Okay, I'm ready to accept 5 seats. When writing it is 7. When we are submitting the aircraft back to them for acceptance, they say, give me a waiver. Okay, we have to prove to them, saying that during the meeting, the minutes has been signed by your own chief said that unless there is done, everything is against the waiver. In your OR, it is not there, so you have to change now. So, likewise, there are so many changes will come. And if I have not agreed to him, and he was at the command at that point of time as a deputy chief, he would have allowed me to go for 1 inch more. So this is the type of problem we face. Apart from that, all the other equipments we nicely tucked inside sort of Almera, which you cannot see it outside at all. This is, of course, shows about mostly Tamilian gang in the sense the original program was sanctioned by none other than Dr. Arunachalam. Subsequently, Dr. Atre was responsible for this program. He sanctioned it, and none other than in between Arunachalam and Dr. Atre, Kalam is no more and could not come and sit in this aircraft. Then comes to Mr. Natarajan, is again a Tamilian, and he was the person who during his period, I was running the show mostly. Consequently, subsequently later, I could become the secretary to be in the same post. But in this photographs, I was not. Basically, the aircraft has got about 89 projections and perturbations. That means some of them radiating, some of them receiving, and so many antennas and so many instruments. Earlier, normally it used to have about 29 to 30. When you want to have this type of system, it gets added by another 50 more. It's easily said than done. It is as good as IL-76. IL-76 aircraft is about 200 tons. This is 24 tons, 1/10. That aircraft starts with some huge amount of fuel and lands back with a reserve fuel of about 10 tons. This aircraft starts with a full fuel of 7 tons. So you can imagine the baby versus the big boat. And the antennas, number of antennas and number of functions, it should be look alike, feel alike. A pilot or particularly the operator trained in the AWNC or our aircraft should be able to operate next day in the IL-70s. That was another condition. You can imagine once you start doing, most of you would have felt it the same way. As an Indian vendor, you would find it much more difficult task to go than the foreign vendors or whatever it is, and no difference for us. I mean, we also gone through the same thing. How we reciprocated to you, I don't know, but notwithstanding that. Look, the basic thing is when you condense things with the same number of EMI and other issues will happen to come. And naturally, we have to do what's called CMOP, simultaneous operation of all these things. Basically, fundamentally, it cannot have a dangerous situation of while the radar is operating, it is giving a problem so that there could be a crash. That's the most important thing. We indeed had a problem. As we are flying at certain altitude, it is much above 5,000 feet. At that time, itself, we say stall, like that, it will keep right. Because it is assuming that we are flying at a low altitude. Because there is a radio altimeter which is working in C-band, this radar signal creeps in. Radar is operating in 3 gigahertz, radio altimeter operating in 6 gigahertz. Its harmonics went and creeped into that other receiver, and thereby it is keep giving signal you are almost going to land or you are going to hit. So the pilot gets a jitter saying that am I by chance flying inadvertently over a hill or something like that. So they came back and said that has to be rectified. The point of rectification is not easy, but as an engineer I could find a solution and we could have filtered everything is fine. But because it is a certified aircraft, nobody, particularly foreigner, will not just like that legal. It took at least couple of years and couple of crores before we solved it. Same filter, what we could do it in a lakh. They took it couple of years and ultimately with a great difficulty they did solve the life is. Right. Apart from the top antenna, when we agreed that we will do ourselves, and we said that it will have a flight worthy, safety, light, everything, it has to be certified. But its antenna design is not like any other antenna design. It's an interdisciplinary in the sense, first of all, aerodynamics. It has to be slim, at the same time strong. It has to be not having much drag. It should not have a radiation problem. It should radiate fully well. Also the energy so that you get your signal whatever you want. The most killing was icing and lightning. Somebody said that, particularly you said the lightning is possible. I would like to talk to you sometime. The lightning was a miracle for us at that time. And ultimately whatever we did is the antenna itself like a Faraday's cage. Because I could have selected for a patch array or whatever it is. We went for a slotted array, which is nothing but a waveguide. If you put a hole and it radiates in certain fashion, we made use of that. And consequently, it's exactly all electronics, very tender, very small electronics is there. And it's just like that exposed on top. So that is what we came about as an electronic, completely a Faraday's cage, by that we could do that. And I can show you sometime the picture where in the Asia, uniquely we have a facility to test the lightning things. We have done that and then we are happy about it. Both on the primary effect as well as on the secondary effect. In addition to that, there is a icing problem which was not told to us in the beginning. We were told remove that cost because everyone is asking for extra cost, let's not go for it. Subsequently, couple of years later, another deputy chief, another N.V. Tyagi, he appears very much, you can see sometime in the TV, N.V. Tyagi is his name. He came and said, Air Marshal N.V. Tyagi said, Christopher, let us introduce lightning protection. I said, why? Icing protection. I said, why? No, we happened to hear some couple of years, 1 year back, Chinese have quietly, covered it up. One of the system been crashed because of the icing. So let us not take a chance, let's put it. In Indian condition, that icing will not happen so easily. The icing will happen between about 12,000 or so feet to about 23,000 feet. So as you keep going up, as and when you see the icing information will come, icing, it will say a lot of indicators will be there. You quietly cross within 10 minutes up or you decide to come down, nothing will happen. We gave a tolerance even after 30 minutes of lot of argument and calculation. Air Force took a decision whether you like it or not. You assume that I am going to fly only in that between 12,000 and 13,000 or whatever it is all the time, which is no aircraft is having. Even AVAX, what they bought it from imported, it's not there. When we say, look, we have done a mistake, don't go around shouting at it, but you must do it yourself. So nobody can say if it is life or death, we have to agree on that. That means we have to go back to the Embraer and ask for the contract change. You know the icing certification. It's not the doing things. You have to go to Americans in Alaska. There is something called like sniffers. Eye sniffers, they will tell you, I don't know how they smell, God only knows. They tell you this winter, this area, this direction, this day, if you go, you are likely to get eyes with a nebulous condition, so and so. That is the condition under which you are supposed to test. So this type of problems are not so easy, and ultimately Americans are usual. When they found that this AWNC, military and whatever it is, they simply get quiet for years together. So the Embraer says, if I miss one season of December, I have to wait for one cycle of 1 year. So give me extension for 3 years. Because if I miss in one, I have to go for the next year. If I make a mistake in that, I have to correct it and do it in the next year. So, I mean, it's a problem is multi-folding that you have not negotiated in the beginning. Air Force can come and say, look, you delayed it. It's not I delayed it. It's you asked for a new requirement. The new requirement asks for a certification. And until the certification you will not accept it, the whole thing gets stretched. Then we found out via media, why should you only go to the North Pole? Why not you go to the South Pole? Why not you go to Chile? Fair enough. Our luck would have been, Chile, I also want to go and see how it is. Unfortunately, that year the stiffer categorically said, sorry, there is no luck. When Americans also denied, Chileans also not up to the mark, we left with another choice to try and somehow Europe. Fortunately, in Norway somewhere and Sweden, part of it, we could get a situation somewhat similar to this, and then we could do that job. That is for a certification. But prior to that, if you look at the way in which the certification process goes, really, really amazing. As an engineer, I felt so happy to learn several things. They put what's called dry ice. It's dry ice, nothing like a dadi. They put in our thermocol. The ice happened to be formed in those places this much. That is the amount of drag, that is the amount of unsymmetricity is going to be created on the aircraft. So they created in a stage by stage and really fly and see the flying quality. And if the flying quality is within the limits, then only it is acceptable. So it's a beautiful way of doing things. And next one is what to do, where to do. Ice will form where? In our antenna itself. Everywhere it will form? No. Where the velocity of the air goes to zero, only at that place it will go. That means there's something called chin. I'll show you some picture later. Only in that place it happened, we need to do that. There again the choices were two. Okay, I'll change and come back to the icing once again. This is about the cooling. The electronics is going to get, like you can boil your egg internally so much, because this is going to put out a power of microwave power of about 83 kilowatts with an efficiency of about 27%. That means 3 times more or 4 times enough of heat is getting produced. Kilowatts of power. So of course, so what we have to do is, unlike if you say car and if it's a cooling, you all will know radiator and it's a water cooling. Whereas in this case, it is, if I say a car with not a liquid cooling, I don't know how many of you recognize. Yes, there is one car at least is there without water cooling. Likewise, it's always known in those days, if it is a TR module, you have to have cooling only through water. If I use water with this aircraft, already I am bargaining for a range and time and endurance, I will lose half an hour. So it is just not possible. And in this aircraft, we have to find a way to survive. So we have to take the air from the forward. It goes down. Why it goes down? Because if it is directly set, if there is a water while the aircraft is taking due to rain, it will definitely go and affect the electronics. So it is made to go down. As it goes down, after that, the air is made to climb up in each level. There's about 160 TR modules are there. Each is having 8 modules. Through that, the air will go to cool, while the water particles will stagnate at the bottom and will get collected and comes out. So the draining the water is one side and the cooling the air. And you all must have seen in the barbecue, if you see that the flow or the fire comes out almost uniformly. But if you see the tube, there is a taper in it. You try and put the tube equal, you will not get it. It's nothing to do with electronics, I learned it. Anyway, so the basic thing is the taper has to be done. Ericsson, whatever they've done, they have a taper. But then if you have a taper, you would like to take one particular element here. The entire taper to be removed, that means the entire length of about 10 meters must be removed. So we were struggling to find out a solution. Why we cannot be different? Why we should entirely open? So what we have done is, we have constricted the entry at this point through several hours and hours of running the CFD. We have done a beautiful way of finding out the constriction. They are not uniform, but that's a one time I'm doing it. Once the design is over, it's frozen, the plates are fitted, no more change. Then what happens automatically, irrespective of whatever happens, even if it is a rectangular hole, a rectangular tube, the air goes only through the constriction whatever we made, thereby we sort to it is uniform. And next point is, what will happen if the aircraft happen to go in a CAT, clear air turbulence? There is a pocket of airless vacuum is going to be there. So what will happen? When the aircraft takes a turn, what will happen? There is always a question mark of a continuous flow of air, varying with time, varying with various this thing. So we must ensure that the minimum quantity is maintained. That means we should also add tolerance. If I make the entire thing is a wide open, the drag goes more. So we have to ensure the drag is less. So a lot of debate, a lot of experiments. At the end of it, we succeeded. Anyway, this is the breakup of this thing. So unlike Ericsson has done something called radome. For an antenna, radome is a protector, so we all are very happy. Where antenna can be anything, very flimsy, but the protector called the radome can take care of it. Here we wanted to have, we don't have that much space, because when compared to the Ericsson, where they don't have an electronic scanning, that means the aircraft when it's flying, I don't know how many of you have gone to the bathroom and there is a small turbulence, even otherwise in a plain normal movement, you will see in the bathroom more motion than elsewhere, the front area. That's because always the aircraft is moving by about a degree or half all the time. Half a degree of beam at a 300 kilometers will never see that. I started saying that's a low flying I can detect. Now I'll never be able to see even high flying. So because the roll can make a beam not able to see the lower side. So we wanted to stabilize, which is not taken care by the Swedish, because they feel that's a very hard area problem, and people like Pakistan is willing to buy. So why do you bother? Whereas our people are intelligent, the sense our Air Force is intelligent, they said no, you have to stabilize the beam. So we have a nodding continuously. Looking at the roll of the aircraft, continuously we keep stabilizing the beam in the horizon position or the angle wherever we need to look. So that is added more weight as well as the components. But then how do we get it reversed? Because ultimately the aircraft top cannot keep increasing the weight more and more. From the 2 TR module what they used, we used 8 TR modules. That means 8 into 160, that means we have got an enormously large number of TR modules to increase. Those weight and other things have to be taken care of. We did a good job by making the structure also as a time. I'll finish it off. So into this thing, so these are all the various tests. I was telling you about lightning test. There's the lightning test, and this is bird strike test. We have done it because it's not like any other antenna. We need to see that there is bird strike test also there. Then this is called SSTs, static string test. We have to apply for various conditions. The extreme load what can come. About 23 sets of loads were given to us, both wind load as well as other load. If you make your structure such that it passes all the 23 Ks, you have made a over design. If it fails in 1 or 2 itself, then you have done a under design. So we have to be somewhere in between. So it is all we have done that. Huge amount of microwave cables are there. That is another way of keeping it inside. We have done that. And this is what I was telling about the place where the air is going to go at 0 velocity. Only those places we need to protect. And there the debate was, this is the place where the air gets stagnated. That's the place we have to go. There is a 2 options available. One is to put a heater and eliminate ice forming itself, or you allow the ice to form and break it. This gone into the next option. That means you periodically break. The break is such that the piece what is coming out of it is not more than 600 grams. If it is more than 600 grams and happen to get into the engine can stop, and thereby you can have a crash. So these are all the conditions we need to look at it. And the internal structure, if you are going to push the air, how that air should be ensured that nothing else happens, it should not get solidified. This is a test conducted at GTI in Bangalore, that is a bird strike test. There again, we faced a problem in our country, we cannot use the chicken, so we had a problem because gel we had used, otherwise Meghalaya Gandhi would have put me inside the box. So again, lot of testing was done. First three they rejected, I mean whatever we could do, the best of our knowledge and belief. But then 6th, 7th, 8th when we did, the same inspector told this is like a Taj Mahal. So it's a huge learning curve for us and we have went through enough of time. At the end of it, whatever we see is like any other antenna pattern. And there again the problem came, whatever we are seeing is on the ground, but what happens in the flying condition, we have to explain. And this is what happened in the case of wedge tail. They have given a slightly height between the antenna and the bottom less, and consequently there was a problem. In our case, we taken that into account, succeeded. You've seen the icing condition when we did in Norway. This is how the whole icing will form, and we will ensure that nothing happens to it. And this is the place icing is removed periodically. No aircraft can put out fire, whereas in a military aircraft, if you have a missile to protect yourself, you have to do this. This has to be done, and there is something called safe separation that has to be ensured that test has been done. And this is, though the aircraft will not be in a position to take at an altitude of 12,000 feet in Leh with a full fuel, it should be able to take from Leh, and it should be able to come up to Srinagar, and it should be able to refuel and go at full fuel. But we could have, with a huge margin, that also we have done the experiment. And this is the most difficult because going behind the IL-78 tanker and buffeting will happen. That means you will not be able to sit in the stand in the aircraft. So much of vibration will come. We need to do the stabilization. It has been done. Only one of its kind is flying in the world. And these are all other electronics. Like I said, apart from radar, so many other things are there. This is self-protection system. Previous one is ESM system. Like this data communication, both on the ground as well as through satellite. And this is in the event of any crash or whatever it is, how we do that. In addition to that, we must have some sort of a ground exploitation station, periodically kept, through which that we keep getting the data. In addition to that, before the aircraft is taken off, no operator will know what has been planned. All will be planned by another set of people, put in a coordinate, put it inside. When they go only, they know which region they are flying, what they are doing. And all those things are kept as a trade secret. And you cannot fly and train yourself all the time. You have to have a huge training setup. It's there on the ground, and which we have set it up in Bathinda. They got their base in Bathinda. And likewise, the equipment, once it is gone bad, there is something called AT. You all is making it for your own equipment. It's in such a condition that almost 90-80% of the thing will be done. As I told you, that many sensors are giving data from the air. In addition to that, ground-based radar data also is coming. You will be continuously fusing the data and getting a very good picture. And that's why from the electronic information knowledge being generated out of it. This is a typical scenario where you fly. There will be a possibility of field behind which your enemy may be there. You are able to see, you will communicate to your own pilots and your fighters, so they will be able to take a course of action. And this is the set of this thing. I told the story of a lady. I would like to show that here also we got enough number of ladies in DRDO who are really capable of doing things. The first sortie, it was done. After the aircraft came and completely the floor mode is removed, putting all our microwave cables and other cables, and we wanted to start after 3 months later. I think it was not starting. We put the new battery, it was not starting. We charged and tried, it was not starting. So it was a panic situation, but after 2 hours later, they came with one more full charge and put it. All the ladies were standing, all the men were running. And having completed it, this is the next version what Government of India has given us. This is called on Airbus 330. It will have a much larger, about 13 hours of endurance it can have, whereas that one with refueling about 10 hours, otherwise it will give you about 5.5 hours. And all the testing is over. The file is moving in Delhi for final sanctions, about 10,000 crore for 2 numbers. And this is the inner side. You can see that in a dome inside you can stand. There's a huge number of this. And about it will weigh about 12 tons of weight. And antenna and other things have already been done. Likewise, even Coast Guards have found interest in a similar fashion. Their interest is on C295. Now recently government has cleared for 50. I mean the Avro replacement 56 numbers with the tussle that is going to be there, and the same aircraft will be using it for that. So if you see the international and national our own growth, we started sometime. AWACS or whatever it is, we started it stopped in 1985, whatever we done. In 1993, whatever we started, crashed and stopped in 1999. and whatever in 2007 we started ended in a positive mode, so we succeeded. And later we rather conquered because 2013 they agreed for the next aircraft also. The entire journey, whatever happened is by the one person by name Ramchan. He was the director for that lab what was created much before the first version he was there, and he has put in this book, some of you can read. This is a setup group, it's not that huge, it's about 100 or 200 odd people. Other than that, hired people, we could manage to do this work. And ultimately, the innovation is crucial for continuing success of any organization. Still, if you have anything, you can question.
Mainly on.
Yep.
While you were mentioning that something like earlier days we had a balloon-like structure and now it's a flying thing. This flying object can also be a target, right?
100%. This is a costly target. So we have escorts. We have the self-protection system. What I said is both in terms of radar chaff. That means if it is a radar looking at you, you produce equivalent to your radio cross section, some sort of cloud type of thing. Throw it away, and then you try to vanish. That is one. Other one is what you are saying is fire. You put, if it is a heat seeking, you put a fire and go. But that is not the end of it. You have to have
You still have to have this backup support.
Backup support. In addition to that, we say it is about 100 kilometers inside, unlike a fighter which goes inside the perimeter.
But unlike a fixed radar which is functional 24/7,
Yeah.
this is only for either 5.5 hours or 10 hours. So is it used only during any emergency or it keeps flying 24, meaning?
As of now, country is planning to go for 15 numbers with the intent of flying 24/7 on those periods when it is critical. The sense, intelligence is always there. You don't, for that matter, fighters are operating or flying only about 128 hours per day, per year. That means nothing hardly. You know why? It is question of training as well as being prepared, but not for just like that because I have a keep using.
But this is supposed to be different,
In the sense, I mean, I tell you, one is that war never happens so secretly at all.
It is not necessarily for during war, it could be for, that's why I think based on intel, that answer.
That's what I'm saying. Once intel is there, we keep putting many things. And the fixed radar, there's no comparison at all. Fixed radar ranges are well known. You keep, keep finding out ways and means to avoid. You all know with that. You put in some formulas and programs are there. It nicely takes you without any problem.
Sorry to interrupt, sir.
Please.
Paucity of time. Can you take the questions offline?
No problem. Yep.
Sir, I mean, see, DRDO is known for their intelligence, right? I mean,
What for what?
known for their intelligence. There is no question in that.
Thank you. I was not aware.
And the DRDO also known for their delay, and you address that.
I understand.
Yes.
I explained,
But-
I thought, but
Yes.
still.
Is there any possibility to know, I mean, a fixed time duration? I mean, if it is 3 years, that's 3 years. So I am from basically, a software industry and
You tell
our
me,
presidents.
which is the other organization in the country which is meeting the schedule? Is it road making is meeting schedule? Or ISRO is meeting schedule? Can you tell me? Quote anything. ISRO is meeting? ISRO is saying?
Sir, that is a different
No,
altogether.
why not? Why not we take that as an example? Okay, you may say they are doing better. I will say no. I can tell Shivan also. Because when the man landed in the moon, are you comparing with the same time? 50 years, 60 years later, they are telling. Whereas, whatever we are doing, it is not even 1 century or one decade old. Because the user is there to drive. Because in ISRO, they decide, they give, you accept it. Because as a user, they themselves are an accepting agency. I have no such an accepting agency. I have a big, foreign lobby supporting a group of people who always will say, I'm bad. It's a large difference. I'm not trying to support myself. I want you to, as an engineer, at least to understand, you may sometimes be a supplier, at the time you will feel the differentiation. So you must understand, that's all the point I was. I'm no longer a DRDO.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Christopher. It was very interesting and useful. And please let me have the minute as to take all the question and answers during the networking time. And I request Rotarian Rajkumar to come forward to honor our chief guest of the evening. join us for the small memento. I think we need to cheer him with a big round of applause. Thank you.
Dan Lilly. He is also there. Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before moving to secretary announcement, I would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Santosh, our new prospect. May I ask him to stand up and get recognized, please? Thank you very much. And now we move on to secretary announcement.
Yeah. Good evening, friends. I want to recognize our guests, Dr. Markandeyo and Ms. Anita.
Get up and recognize this.
Oh, Aarti. And Punyamurthy from Sun City. Bala from Sun City. And Ganshekar from Sun City. And now birthday and wedding anniversary.
Joint meeting, it's kind of joint meeting.
Today, Shobha, wife of Shah, is celebrating a birthday. Sorry, Subha. Okay. Sabir Kota is celebrating birthday on 14, and Divya, daughter of Priya Rajendran, is celebrating birthday on 15, and Manigandan, son of Narayan Madhivanan, celebrating birthday on 15. Darika Arti. Vishwanath celebrating on 16th November, and Kanishka Shaiju Bharat on 17th. Shaurya is on 18th, and Tamarai, daughter of Ishwaramurthy, celebrating birthday on 19th, and Girija, wife of Jagannath Ramaswamy, celebrating birthday on 22nd, and it's next. Vijaya and Israel celebrating on wedding anniversary on 14th November, and Asha Priya and Badrinarayan celebrating wedding anniversary on 14th November. Karigalan and Tamil celebrating wedding anniversary on 20th. Next week is the joint meeting, 21st is the joint meeting, and our regular meeting is
20th.
20th, joint board meeting, joint meeting, and 27th is the regular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. As we come to the end of the session, who else I can think of when it comes to vote of thanks? For a short and sweet vote of thanks, makes a request Rotarian Jagannath ji.
Certainly it will be short. I don't know about the sweet part of it. I think I should first lay my claim to fame. One, I'm a classmate of your colleague Ashok Jhunjhunwala. Okay. But there stops. My father was in ordnance factories, Kanpur. My brother was in HA, all the names you mentioned. My brother-in-law was in DRDO, Visakhapatnam. Several people know him as Dr. Commander Janaki Raman is his name, also Redha.
Janaki was in Bangalore also, right?
Yeah, he's still in Bangalore. He's settled in Bangalore.
Okay.
He happens to be my brother-in-law. So, but I am also an engineer, but I thank God I didn't pursue engineering after CEQT. I'm very happily in advertising, where people don't think I'm intelligent, so nothing much is expected out of me, and I also deliver what is not expected. As simple as that. I feel sorry because I distinctly noticed in between you use the word our political bosses. I know how irritating that can be. And normally these people are very careful, but now that he's not part of DRDO, I suppose he said it. But I don't think very
They all say it. My brother-in-law says it all the time, so that's a different matter.
He says how you interpret it.
No. Oh, okay. But my admiration for the president for having chosen the chairman of this meeting, I saw her nodding very knowledgeably, interspersed with her charming smile, and I was quite impressed. Okay, and my admiration for Dr. Chandrasekhar. I mean, such a subject, trying to speak to people like us, Christopher, speaking to people like us, I mean, anything beyond 2 + 2 is big technology for us. And Neil, I suppose, since he felt duty bound to ask a question, so he asked a question. But honestly, I didn't know what question to ask. Honestly, I didn't know what question to ask. But hats off, I think if we get such speakers more often, we also know that how little we are contributing to this country. And when we have people like him, who said, I'm an engineer, so am I, but where am I and where are you? And several of us. Okay. And to that extent, I thank you very much. And just one thing, President, you said we don't have control over delays and so on and so forth. The President also doesn't have control over delays. Thank you very much.
Now I understand why word of thanks is always you. I would like to thank Rotarian Jitendra of RC Green City and Rotarian Serevanan of RC Kodambakam for joining us for the meeting today. Thank you. Okay. May I ask you to share a few words of your observation?
Sarvana, please come. Jitendra, please come.
Good evening all.
Good evening, Sarvana.
Thank you, Shiva, for inviting me for this speaker meet. Thank you, sir. It was really a big eye-opening. I was able to know a lot of technical aspects of the radar systems. Thank you so much. It was really worth speaking.
In the club, I came to your installation and your zero miss all these things. In the speaker meeting, it was very nice. We learned a lot of things, how to develop our club meetings. So I learned a lot of things. We also follow some certain processes. We liked it, the avenue announcements, it's very good. It's like professional meeting happens, where a team of excellence is there. Everybody is the great people. It's nice to be part of your team. It's good experience for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Serevanan and President Jitendra for your feedbacks, and it's time for National Anthem. Let's rise for the National Anthem.